reporting from YESSSS Lubbock, Texas. My goodness, we have here Campos. Guys, spoiler, we said this man would top. Unfortunately, he didn't win, but he was very close. What deck, man?
I was playing pure Fluffals.
Pure Fluffals.
Yeah.
Wow, you even gave everyone a heads up on this channel.
I did.
It's up today, guys. All right. So, what place you get, dude?
So I ended up getting 4th place. X1.
X1. What deck you lose to?
I ended up losing to another deck that got top 8. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I think it was just a hand trap deck or something like that. So with maybe Print Kids in there or something. Nah, just kidding. I love Booth. He beat me fair and square.
Oh, Booth, nice.
Yeah.
Yo, shout outs before you get.
I got tons of shout outs. Shout outs to Team Bortle, of course. Was repping the mat all day. You know, made some big waves today. Everyone had to peep the list, and here we are. We're about to show it off. Next up, just quick shout out to the car that I drove here with. That car was extremely comfortable. I got some great sleep, and yeah, shout outs to everyone from DFW, everyone that traveled here, and yeah, let's get into it.
Show's you, man.
All right, so we're playing 40 cards. I was playing 60.
60? You downgraded?
Yeah.
I don't know, you upgraded. All right, let's see.
Something like that. So I was borrowing all those cards from that first deck profile, and I needed to like figure out how to play this deck. And I just ended up defaulting to one of my favorite decks of all time, Monarch. And we're actually playing like Monarch ratios on our cards. I know, it's the weirdest thing. But right here, the way I look at these are the babies from the Monarch deck. Like Eidos, Edia, the ones that got all the big Monarchs going. So yeah, you got to play like this many. Because, you know, 3 Eidos, 3 Edia, and then like a flex spot. This one's also just like everything. So yeah, explaining these things. This thing, whenever it leaves the field or the hand, it gets to search a Frightfur card from your deck. And if it attacks, you can search for another Edge and Chain. That rarely comes up, but it's there. It's pretty cool. It's a level 4. It's a dark that comes up for Dark the Charmer. This one is a hand trap. It lets you, during your opponent's main phase, fusion summon during their turn. This was the best hand trap, and it is actually the best card with the name Scythe in it, currently in the game of Yugioh. We don't play Artifact Scythe, fun fact.
Beautiful explanation.
This card. That's it. Whoops. Let's go into Fluffals next. We're only playing 8. Going back to that whole Monarch ratio thing that I was explaining earlier, I only ever played 8 big Monarchs. That's just how I did it, I guess. And like, you just want to guarantee that you draw one, right? Like, we don't really care which Fluffal we draw with this list, because like any one of them plus like one of the babies is like combo, as long as you have polymerization, but you have like 9 ways to get the polymerization, including with like the babies. So yeah, you're just always comboing off. We're just gonna explain these little guys real quick. Penguin. He's kind of like Liquid Soldier in the Monarch, or not Monarch, the Hero archetype. It can special summon a Fluffal from your hand once per turn during the main phase, except for himself. So he usually brings out this guy. When you fusion with him, he lets you draw 2 cards and discard 1. You have to fusion for a Frightfur monster, which just sucks, but whatever. Next up is Dolphin. This card is actually like a huge MVP in the deck. I was actually going to cut down to 1 Dolphin, but I really wanted to stick with the 8 card like thing, and I didn't want to play a second wing because like I wasn't wanting to play like grind games anymore. So like all the other Fluffal lists, they were like excelling at the grind game, but they wouldn't have any like finishing power outside of like having all of their fusions like go through. But like with this list, if they stop the fusions, you're fine. You just set up for next turn. And with how little cards you have now, the deck is super consistent. So you're always just making plays happen.
Okay.
So yeah, this thing's effect on the field lets you set a toy vendor from the graveyard, and then you get to ascend a Fluffal or an Edge of Sabers from your deck to the graveyard. So this thing plus this thing plus this thing, that's like the crazy amounts of combos. So spoilers, in the extra deck we have a Bahamut Shark and an Abyss Dweller. Both of these things are water, so that's really cool. We can pull off a negate under 5 summons easily. So Fluffal Bear is just another toy vendor. So we're playing a lot of toy vendors in this deck. I'm going to keep track more or less, but we have 2 so far. It also has a tribute effect on field, but that never came up. It can grab back a polymerization from the graveyard. Whatever. So we have Fluffal Wings. This is actually just Destiny Hero Celestial, and that's why we don't play Celestial in our deck. Spoilers. So instead of Celestial, we're actually playing this Destiny Hero package. 2 Malicious and 1 Denier.
Oh, wow.
So in practice, like, I just kept not enjoying Dasher or Celestial because if I was going to get my next turn, I was winning regardless. And like sometimes I wasn't even like using Dasher to the full effect, or I wasn't using Celestial to the full effect. And because I'm playing Toy Vendor, there's that level of RNG where I can just like hit one of my things accidentally from the deck and like that's it. So with this, like there's a backup plan if these get hit from the deck. And it also sets up 2 bodies on board for the next turn for free. And like, I'd rather have the 2 bodies on the board in this deck than having the 2 cards in my hand, because those 2 cards in my hand could be anything. That could be Fluffal cards. We don't really want to have that many Fluffal cards. We just want to have the good ones. So once we have like our good ones, that's it. Then we can use these things, make cross sheep and stuff. Dark is another great option. Like, the sky's the limit with these cards. It's crazy. Yeah. So going into the next thing, last hand trap, we played 2 nib. A lot of my ratios are really unorthodox. I'm siding in the 3rd nib. It was really like a last minute deck building decision, like across the board with a lot of the things that I did, but they were rooted in like past deck building like experience and like past tournament experiences, and like all my ratios ended up like paying off more or less. Like I always drew, or not always, but like drawing the edge imp with the edge imp scythe with penguin is like game every single time. And Nib's one of those high impact hand traps. You just need those over like a Veiler or something, because like either that hand trap's gonna like stop them, or you're just gonna kill them next turn. Either way, they're in a bad spot. So for the 1-0s, we played 20 monsters exactly. And going to the spells, we got Call by the Grave. Good because we're combo deck. Yeah, I love that card. 5 for Repair. So this is the card that we send off of the whale from the extra deck. Spoilers, I'll point it out again when we get back to it. So this thing can banish itself in the graveyard and special summon a Fluffal or an edge imp monster from your hand. So it's a free extender whenever you make that fusion monster. And as a spell card, it has an effect where you can shuffle back a fusion Fright Fire monster from your graveyard back into the extra deck, and then special summon a Fluffal from your graveyard, I believe. That effect's like actually pretty good, especially with the whale. Like the whale plus this card, they're just like meant to be. And then the last card, we got Miracle Fusion. I mean, Fright Fire Fusion. You can send this off Verte, that's cool. So for more fusion spells, Fusion Destiny. Of course, you know, we're playing those cards. But like, the fact that we're playing Polymerization allows us to hard make DPE, and that happened quite a few times, because I can't tell you how many times, like, I'd just have a very weak hand, but just kind of pull through by like, just making the game last a little longer here and there, and like just having that resource always present in your graveyard with like with the Denier and the Mally makes this like a great top deck, like later on if your graveyard's already like set up, or if like your thing gets bounced or something. So next up for the weird numbers, we're playing 2 Droplet. We side in the 3rd one. 2 Foolish Burial Goods, because we want more toy vendors, but we don't want too many toy vendors. 3 talents, or not 3, sorry, 2 talents. Card was okay, mad decent. Shouts to Creighton, he knows what happened. And then last 3 of 3 Patchwork and 3 Toy Vendor. So this card is not once per turn. This card is once per turn, but it's you can only activate 1 per turn. So they negate this, you just activate another one. But it really sucks. Like there's never like a good thing for you to negate against this deck. So going second's like a breeze for this deck. So I wasn't winning very many dice rolls, but it did not matter.
Perfect 40.
Yeah. No, and shout outs to Toy Vendor. I probably resolved this card over 100 times this weekend.
Jeez.
So yeah, let's go into the extra deck. So we'll start with the links, and we're gonna go in this order for some reason. Verte, because Verte package, of course, we're playing quite a few things that we can actually go into because of the Fright for stuff, and we can actually send Polymerization. That never came up, but with Guardian Chimera, that's like a pretty decent option. So next up, Dark. This card has so much synergy in your deck, and like just stealing a Dark monster is always going to be good. But this can search out Scythe, and Scythe is the best hand trap in your deck. So yeah, another MVP and honorary Fluffal cross sheet. So whenever you fusion summon to a zone, or a fusion monster has to be somewhere it points to, and then you have to summon a monster to its zone or something like that, and then you get to special summon something from the graveyard. Doesn't negate it, so you get a free effect off of that, and like you just get to extend afterwards or go into like other things. Like as you can see, I'm not playing the artifacts obviously, but these are the link 2s that I like to go into, and they really did their jobs this weekend. And then Appaloosa, because you can always threaten hand traps with 4 monsters on board, like games 2 and 3 after they know that you have this, and like it's really nice. It just like gives you another edge. So XCs are next. We have 1 Toad with the Bahamut, 1 Dweller, and 1 Hamburger. I didn't really go into these 2 this weekend. I feel like you could actually cut these and things would be fine, but they're all things that like are just amazing over the alternatives at least. So then yeah, finally the purple cards. We play 1 Fright for Tiger. This card is kind of not really bound by only bound by the amount of Fluffals you have to how many pops you can do with the Miracle Fusion, which is really, really crazy. Doesn't come up very often, but it's cool. Guardian Chimera is next, and this card is the newest card in the extra deck, and by far the craziest card I've ever read for like fusion decks. There's no reason not to play this in like a fusion deck, and I think it's good enough to like maybe even splash into other combo decks. If anything can like pull off like a decent like thing, I don't know, because like it just does so much. You load up your graveyard, you sit on a huge monster, and you're like answering threats non-targeting. Crazy. Next up, DPE. This guy's pretty neat. And then the last of the Fluffals, or Frighters. 2 Will. So this guy's the best Fluffal, or Frighter fusion monster for sure in the extra deck. Whenever he's fusion summoned, he has a DPE effect where he destroys 1 card on your field and 1 card on your opponent's field. Edgemp Scythe protects a Frightfur monster from being destroyed by banishing it in the graveyard, kind of like Balinks. So you can protect this like that. This thing sends stuff from the main deck or the extra deck to the graveyard. So like in those grindier games, there are times where you just send Patchwork to the graveyard just so you don't draw it because you know it'll be dead because you already went through all your polys or something like that. Just like small things like that just keep the consistency of the deck at the peak. Because like if there's no reason not to activate it, you might as well like activate it, right? Anyway, next up, Sabretooth. This guy got Veilered once, and that was very unfortunate.
Oh, they knew how to play that.
Yeah, they kind of Veilered the effect that gave it a 400 attack boost, and then that allowed me to tactics away the nib that I knew they had, so shoutouts to Creighton.
You playing with Swiss or something?
I did, yeah.
Oh my god, alright.
And then last card, Fright for Kraken. This card can attack twice, and then it goes to defense mode. It's basically Dante.
And
15.
Let's see your broken side deck.
Yeah. So, my side deck is always going to be something weird. We have a lot of 1-0s in here. We're going to start off with Pankratops. Of course, like, going second, great card. 1 red reboot. I just don't like dealing with trap cards like that. Feather Duster, you know. The 3rd nib. Cited that in here and there. The 3rd droplet. Cited that in here and there. 2 twin. I just had a lot of back row hate, and it really ended up paying off because like there was a lot of back row here, or like mixed back row decks or stuff like that. Like Cyber Cell Glitch was pretty big. Lancia, only 2. I really didn't even end up like using it against anything. And then the ones that I wanted to see over here are the 3 Drolls and the 3 Imprint. So this plus nib is obviously game. This in general is like game by itself. So yeah, they all did a great job this weekend.
Thanks again for the explanation. And congrats on getting top 4.
Yeah, man.
YESSSS love it.
Yeah.
And until next time, everyone.